I'm going to be your program director for the day. We've got our agenda fully packed right in front of us. I don't want us to waste a lot of time, but we must just start. I want to start by narrating to you something very interesting. There are two old men sitting in the bar. One of them looks at the other and says, "You look familiar. Where are you from?" The second old man replies, "I'm from Zimbabwe." The first old man looks astonished and says, "No way, I'm from Zimbabwe myself. What a small world." And the second old man then looks at the first and asks, "What city?" The first old man says, "Masvingo." The second old man looks astonished and says, "No way, I'm from Masvingo too. What a small world." The first old man looks at the second old man. "What school did you go to?" The second old man replies, "Gokomere, class of 1989. And the first old man is absolutely baffled. "No way, Gokomere, class of 1989 myself. What a small world." At this point, another man comes into the bar and says to the bartender, "Hey Joe, anything interesting going on?" And the bartender says, "Not really, but the Dube twins are drunk again." If you could just please extend a hand to the person next to you, hoping that they are sober, and say welcome. Well, thank you so much. We want to welcome all of you, even those who are online. And I hope they are very sober too, in this very important AGM. This is Food and Beverage SETA Manufacturing Annual General Meeting 2024, and we truly appreciate that you are able to make time to be here. I do know that the Honorable Deputy Minister is going to be joining us, and he will be welcomed duly. Among the very important people, of which all of you are very important, we've got the CEO of the SETA, Gugumkhize Katsita Max Tibela, Western Cape Education Department, Sarelda Gwopman, and we've got the board members of Food and Beverage SETA who are here with us, executive management. We've got all of you as our key stakeholders. We want to say welcome to all of you, and we are so happy that you are here this morning just to know about the progress that this particular SETA, your SETA, has made during this past financial year, and really to be engaged as well, to engage us and engage the board and engage everyone who is tasked with driving this very important institution in our country. So, like I said, I will not be wasting more time, but I'll just be calling people to come and speak as per our program to make sure that we keep to time, as we've got a few things to do today. On that note, allow me to welcome on stage someone that is going to be doing the formalities in terms of welcoming each and every one of you formally, and that is our chairperson, Mr. Alan Campbell Lagadla. A clap of hands, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaba. If you are not aware, Mr. Kaba is a member of our board. He's also an executive committee member. So, yes, unless, in case someone didn't know who he was. Of course, good morning and welcome to FoodBev SETA's 24th Annual General Meeting. This is number 24. We have, I'm told, 430 confirmed attendees, could be slightly more, of which 200 are catered for in this particular venue. So also a hearty welcome to those that are online today. And it's pleasing, even though, also a bit uncomfortable, that there were requests from a lot more people to come and join us today. And unfortunately, we were limited by the venue. And as far as the venue is concerned, we manage public funds, and we try to make the event decent but not overly glitzy. So we chose an older, hotel so that we are not accused of, what do they call it, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We sometimes assume that we all know what the AGM is about, so I'm going to deal with the purpose of the AGM so that we understand it the same. Before I go there, let me acknowledge Gugu. Thank you very much. I think you consistently attend our AGMs, and one appreciates that very much. We also appreciate the presence of the CEO of SETA, a related SETA to the work that we do. SETA deals with hospitality, as I'm sure some of you are aware. Representatives of the Department of Higher Education and Training, we appreciate your presence here, our board, FoodBev SETA, and most importantly, private sector partners and stakeholders that are here today, moderators, trainers, and any learners who are present in the room. The AGM is a once a year, an annual opportunity for us as a SETA to get together with yourselves as our stakeholders to review our performance for the year that has come and gone, and to, of course, cast our eyes into the future and to see what plans, we've devised based on our understanding of the environment within which we operate. Because of that, we will and must provide you with an update of our performance, and the year under review is 2023-2024. We will also, of course, share our strategic direction with you. In the course of doing that, it's inevitable that we will share important business matters that needs to be managed as we execute our next plan based on lessons learned from the past and our understanding of our current environment. As we do all of this, we are fulfilling, by holding this AGM, a very important legal and compliance requirement that is squarely our responsibility as a board. And that includes administrative things such as presenting and approving the minutes of the past AGM, looking at matters arising from that AGM, which we must do today, presenting our performance report to you, presenting the annual financial statements to you as well. I normally say that the formal business of an AGM is very dry. You're just receiving all of these facts and statistics and figures, etc. Because of that, we're diluting the day. In the afternoon, we'll have a much more relaxed session where we'll deal with awards, to participants from the industry. And then to conclude on the reason for the AGM and its purpose, it helps us to, of course, promote accountability, and we accept and understand that as FoodBev SETA. The AGM is essential for our governance responsibilities as a board, and it is, in our view, the single most important stakeholder event, of the year. And I say this as chair of the board. So once a year, the board hosts this, supported by management, in order to meet with yourselves and account, for what we've done, and also share with you what our plans are. So your presence here today is much appreciated. We started promptly at 10, and our resolute intention is to finish on time, which is by midday. So let me get going. Our plans are contextualized, of course. Everything we do, everything we plan happens within the environment in which we operate and work. They are not formulated within a vacuum. They are informed by things that unfold even after those plans are formulated, things that unfold in the course of implementing those plans. And these are political dynamics, developments within the economy, the socio-economic environment, and all sorts of things like COVID, which could never have been foreseen. This type of context within which the performance that will be shared today with you took place is important to share with you so that you appreciate that performance and our plans going forward. My job is to sketch for you, anecdotally and at a very high level, our understanding of the environment within which these reports are presented and the environment within which plans for the next few years are taking place. So politically, we see two big things as FoodBev SETA. The first, a new thing, a new phenomenon, is the government of national unity. GNU, it's a new thing within our political landscape. It has implications and an impact on how we do things, and I want to talk a little bit about that. The second one are geopolitical dynamics outside of South Africa, which cannot be ignored, and I'll speak about that a little bit as well. The GNU, of course, means that goals at the highest levels of government are now shared, and they are shared in respect of the social, economic development imperatives of our country. What the GNU does not mean is that all of the plans that were there in government are suddenly dumped. In fact, what has happened is that the policies of the 6th administration have in fact been carried over into the current 7th administration. And what is also quite clear to us is that the GNU does have a shared vision. And that vision, our understanding, is first and foremost to drive inclusive growth of the economy. And with that, or accompanying that, to ensure that there's job creation. Secondly, to reduce poverty. That hasn't changed because of the emergence of the GNU. To reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, affordability. And then thirdly, to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. It's been with us for a while, and it's still there. And it's a shared vision of the GNU. So the implications for FoodBev, including the fact, or rather us considering the fact that politically there seem to be perceptions out there that there are unethical practices within the SETAs. And it's not just politically. I think generally there's an impression that SETAs are inefficient, they are unethical, they are wasteful, in the way in which they manage public funds. And therefore, ultimately, they are ineffective. And there are questions about whether they should continue to exist or not. As FoodBev SETA, in order to be appreciated and for the work that we do, we have to perform at our absolute best. Like absolute best. So we have a zero tolerance policy on fraud, zero tolerance on corruption, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and in fact, any kind of behavior that negatively impacts the positioning and public perception of us as a SETA. You will see today that we are very pleased that that is finding expression, as we get audited, and it's finding expression as we execute our plans. We have what is called a clean audit. The CEO always says to me, yeah, it's nice to say clean audit. It's not that easy to achieve. And I continuously and consistently say to the CEO, that's what we want. It must be clean. Because clean is the opposite of dirty, right? So we want a clean audit. And we achieved that, this year. We've also achieved our targets completely, 100%. Those that were here last year will remember that we had achieved 98%, of our targets last year. Thank you so much for that. And we had undertaken that we will do more, to achieve more. And we are sitting at 100% this year. It's unthinkable that someone who knows nothing about what you do comes in and says, what targets did you set for yourself? And you say, these are the targets, approved by the board, by the department, and so on. And they then go into verifying how many of those targets have actually been achieved. And for them to come back and say, we are happy to say you've achieved all of them is absolutely remarkable, in my view. Our budgets are not small. We manage in excess of R500 million, every year, to then be able to account for every single penny in that total, and to come out of that absolutely clean is also not a small feat at all. So kudos to management for that. So we have to perform at our absolute best in as far as how we manage our money is concerned, or public money is concerned, and in as far as us executing the plans that we have set for ourselves and that industry sometimes imposes on us. And that will enable us to stand out as a SETA in this noise about SETAs underperforming and not knowing exactly what they're doing and being irresponsible, etc. There is, of course, because of the GNU, very real possibilities of shifts in policy. I think it's unavoidable that laws will change here and there, new policies will emerge, etc. So we have to be flexible in how we do things and accommodate the fact that we may have to accommodate all of these policies. And then clearly there will be power dynamics within, as we are seeing already, within the GNU itself, a jostling for being heard more than the other person within the GNU. It happens, of course, the GNU comes at a time when our term as a board ends. Our term ends March of next year. New board members are to be appointed, and because of these power dynamics politically, we expect that they will, in fact, or these power dynamics will find expression in the way in which board members are being appointed. So the next 6 months must be managed very responsibly, the way we look at it, until the new boards are in place, especially in view of the fact that we have a new government and a government of national unity in place. We have a new minister, and unlike in the past, we have 2 deputy ministers as such. And there's a deadline this coming Friday, incidentally, for industry, for anyone out there who is interested in being a board member of FoodBev SETA to make their submission. So let me pause for a second and very slowly encourage everybody who is here today to consider applying, or encourage everybody who is here today representing industry to encourage those back in your companies to apply. We cannot do the work that we do if industry is not a full participant. And we would like to see the representation of industry on our board. So next 6 months, interesting. Trade unions, of course, and the private sector are also grappling with this new political landscape. And their own plans are evolving and changing as their understanding of what this thing is, also evolves with time. And that must also be understood, because we work directly with the private sector and the unions themselves, and this is likely to affect, how we go about things. And that's the first thing, the GNU, and all of its nuances. The second, of course, political issue that I said I would like to address is the geopolitical developments outside of South Africa. We've just recently, starting with the first one, had the Trump effect, right? And we know what was happening towards President Trump's, latter part of his initial tenure. And we don't know, how this will affect South Africa going forward. So it's space to watch. In addition to that, the Russia-Ukraine war cannot be ignored. It's raging out there, and the whole world is dependent on grains as well as gas and other resources coming out of that region. It is likely to continue to affect fuel prices, food prices, inflation around the world, manufacturing, and business operations in general. It can't be ignored. And then, of course, BRICS itself, as a geopolitical dynamic, is quite an issue. South Africa, like the rest of the developing world, as you might have observed, is looking more east than west, even though our public foreign policy is that we work with the entire world as such. So our participation in BRICS is perceived and understood in a particular way by partners that we've always had. And this is, of course, likely to affect their relationship, with us. And the GNU's policy towards BRICS, must also be understood. Our view is that that policy is quite clear, and it will not change. So participation in BRICS because of the GNU is unlikely, in our view, to change in the near future. From a skills point of view, what this implies for FoodBev is that we must strengthen our working relationship with BRICS, and in particular the skills desk of BRICS, as we do what we do, because it will continue to be a feature of our existence going forward. And then there's the Israel-Palestine, very sensitive, war that is raging there, which is also an international dynamic that we cannot avoid. As you travel the world, and you interact with people, you get different reactions depending on who you're talking to out there. If you're in Turkey, you get embraced. If you are in another part of the world, people just look away as soon as you say you're from South Africa. And this affects relations with our country at a formal and business level, which also affects the relationships that we have in as far as skills development is concerned with other nations of the world. GNU, external geopolitical developments outside of South Africa, I think we can't avoid understanding how those affect the work that we do and ensuring that our plans take into account those developments. It was a bit wordy, but yes. Moving along from there, economics. Sure, we are all in agreement that economic growth is not where we all want it to be. Private sector consumption is dropping. When I talk to members of our board who are part of the largest food companies in our country, they confirm that, yes, they can feel it as well within their businesses. So there's a reduction in demand in as far as consumption is concerned for some food and beverage products. And you can take me on lunchtime or so as to whether that is factual or otherwise. What we are seeing, though, is that there's been a decline in growth of 2% in March of 2024 and a further decline of 3.2% in as far as the food and bev sector is concerned in April of this particular year. And we cannot underemphasize how the energy crisis plays a role, in economic growth, or the lack thereof. Then unemployment is something worth looking at, of course, and we are stubbornly sitting at 33.5% as the official unemployment rate according to the quarterly labor force. This is 8.2 million people who would otherwise be working, who are not working. 8.2 million people. Just to put perspective to that, the BLS countries that surround us as a country, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland, combined do not make 8 million people. Right? And we have 8 million people who are completely unemployed. So the unemployed in our country could constitute a fully fledged country. You get what I mean? It's not a small thing, at all. And these are people who could otherwise, be working, let alone those who are not interested in work, or who can't work. Of that, youth unemployment is at 61%. I call it a time bomb. 61% of the youth that could be working are unemployed. And these are people between the ages of 15 and 25. Having said that, of course, a key requirement for any growth that is to be inclusive and sustainable is a skilled labor force. So every time we look at the unemployment statistics, every time we hear about youth unemployment, as I think I might have said on previous occasions, we cringe, as we should, because our job is mainly to ensure that there is a skilled pool of people that can be pulled into industry out there. It is our view that here and there's something we're missing between ourselves as FoodBev SETA and yourselves as our industry partners. There's somewhere where we don't, if you get what I mean, in order for every single person who is trained, to be absorbed into employment. You'll see our statistics. We actually train quite a lot of people as one of 21 SETAs in total. If we were hitting the mark, in my opinion, we should be making a dent on the unemployment level. Our responsibility to facilitate skills development to meet the needs of the economy is heightened, by these statistics. And as I think I'm saying, to be more direct, we cannot do it alone. FoodBev SETA can't just train in a void. The SETAs themselves can't just, churn out like a sausage machine without any intended goal. The end goal is ultimately for people to be absorbed in order for us to deal with the scourge of poverty and unemployment. So partnerships for FoodBev SETA are absolutely essential, and we will report on how we are doing in as far as partnerships are concerned. Socially, as indicated, a large part of our population is unemployed, young people in particular, and they end up finding ways in which they can live, To deal with this poverty properly, let me give you a few statistics. In 2015, in order for you to be seen to be food poor, you would be a person who can't raise, in one manner or the other, 1,000 rands. Anything below 1,000 rands within a family per month was seen as food poverty. That number has now increased in 2023 to 1,600 rands, and that's the upper level of the poverty line. The lower level is 750 rands. And there are 30 million people in our country who are below that upper level. So we have a large part of our population that cannot feed itself properly on an ongoing and daily basis. Again, poverty is a serious issue, in our country. I've dealt with unemployment. Let me talk about inequality just a little bit. It's a social dynamic and it's multidimensional in our view. It's driven by a lot of factors which together combine to give rise, to this stubbornness of dealing with inequality in our country. These dynamics are things such as race, and we all are aware of our past, gender, and the spatial disparities, rural, urban, which create difficulties in accessing education, housing, health services, water, sanitation, and especially opportunities out there. Doesn't mean that we've not been doing anything as a country, but like I'm saying, we are stubbornly still not making the impact that we should. Our position as FoodBev SETA is that we must continue to enhance and do more in rural areas, enhance our efforts and do more in rural areas, and develop rural-specific skills development programs to deal with the spatial disparities that I'm talking about. And then in concert with other government agencies, the private sector and other partners, we will also make efforts to do everything within our mandate that we can do to deal with the impact of the other dynamics on this. Transformation is therefore a critical thing for the sustainability of our country. We cannot avoid it, or else we're asking, for our country to go under. Remember that this is not gospel, it's not absolute truth, it's our view based on analysis, based on research, as FoodBev SETA. When you touch on these things, they are sensitive things and some people take them personally. I'm sharing with you the basis on which we decided on the plans we have, as well as the environment within which we're executing those plans. The third very important thing to talk about is technology. Right? As industry, I'm sure you're dealing with this, as well. There are skills, of course, that are needed to deal with this rapid advancement of technology. And the buzzwords out there are artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data. And I'm very comfortable talking about this because privately I own an IT business myself. So artificial intelligence is not necessarily equal to robots, right? And we must not, understand it narrowly like that. Artificial intelligence, in our view, is an opportunity that should be used to optimize business processes, enhance quality control, and enable predictive maintenance of the equipment that we use, in particular to manufacture food. When asked, so this AI, what if it's not robots, what exactly is it? And I was saying, a study was done at one stage. I had the good fortune of studying AI a little bit, at MIT. And a study was done in which it was looked at, the study looked at why is it that companies within the same environment, same industry, some succeed at a spectacular level, and others just fizzle out and fail. And one of the conclusions that were reached was that, those that made it made better decisions, at all levels than those that didn't make it. And those that made it made better decisions because those decisions were based on facts. They were not based on emotions. They were not based on gut feel. They were based on facts. So what artificial intelligence does is present, the facts to you in order for you to then use that, to instruct business operations within your environment. Hey, Google, what do they always say? Hey, Google, I think in our kitchen at home, there's a Google thing there. You talk to it. It's listening to you all the time. My mother calls it Gugu. Says, this Gugu is intelligent, because it's always there. And every time you interact with it, it's learning. So AI is a force that we cannot avoid. For food and beverage manufacturing in particular, it's critical because it will enhance the accuracy with which things are done. And what propels that a lot is Internet of Things, in other words, being able to talk to machines remotely, as well as big data. The continuous gathering of data from which analyses are made and better decisions are then prompted from them. In our country, in order to reap the benefits of all of these advancements, we can't be blind to the fact that there are huge divides in as far as technology is concerned. Bandwidth is not found everywhere in our country. Even in this hotel, I struggled a bit, last night. And we have to deal with this in order to realize the full benefits, of all of these. As FoodBev SETA, we can't ignore the fact that urban areas are more and better equipped than rural areas. As much as we can't drop urban areas completely, we have to look at rural areas in a special way as well. We need to use AI ourselves also as FoodBev SETA to modernize the skills development landscape. As you went in, you registered yourself differently this year. It's part of the game, and the future that confronts us squarely. Skills development programs to equip workers with the competencies that are required to manage and optimize AI-driven systems is becoming more and more of an issue. When we listen to industry, those are the skills that industry is looking for, and we can't ignore that. AI is likely to revolutionize, in our view, product tracing, within the food and beverage manufacturing value chain. We all know the fake food phenomenon, food fraud and so on, which has a lot to do with food safety and security issues, as well as quality management at manufacturing level. And AI has a big role to play, in our view, in that respect. We will be implementing, because of the fact that as AI, IoT, big data, and all of these technological advancements manifest and they get adopted, what also happens is that cybersecurity becomes an issue. So at the same time, you need to deal, with cyber criminals out there. And because of that, as FoodBev SETA, we will be implementing a FoodBev specific cybersecurity center of excellence in order to ensure that there's capacity to troubleshoot as well, and that there's sufficient research and factual information available to industry. I'm sure many of you are crossing your fingers that you're not attacked, online in any manner or form, that your data is not stolen in any manner or form, because with these kind of things, until it happens to you, very few people take it really seriously as such, and research confirms that as well. But when it happens, do you know what to do? Do you know where to go to? Do you know who to talk to, when that happens? I'm sure you'd like to speak to someone out there who understands the industry very well and who would be able to help you and say, first step, do this, next step, do that, and proactively share research about cybersecurity within the food industry proactively. So we can't avoid technological advancements. Ecologically, I think the food sector is generally clear that environmentally friendly food products are a phenomenon, and they will continue to be. Eco-friendly packaging, as an example, waste reduction, next, energy efficiency with low emissions. These are features globally within the food and beverage manufacturing sector that will continue to be with us for a long time. FoodBev is looking at we're looking at providing training and resources that emphasize the sustainable manufacturing of food. The outbreak of foodborne diseases is, of course, worrisome. Listeriosis, it's not only the cases that are published, that have occurred, there are many unpublished, cases out there. So it continues to be a feature, and we must worry about it in our view, including things like climate change, which are changing how food in particular gets produced. I remember I was in Ireland once, and the Irish were saying, we are looking at killing all the cows. And we're saying, why would you want to do that? No, the cows are responsible for most of, the damage we have in the atmosphere. And somebody in the delegation said, why don't you just give them to us, in Africa? But it's that serious. So it's something that will be there and that we can't, as I keep saying, avoid. And then lastly, on the legal front, we have the sugar tax, and I'm sure you understand what that means. And we have POPIA that we've isolated as key things to look at from a skills development point of view. We have to make available, in our view, to the industry, people that are skilled in managing compliance, to the privacy laws that are relatively new, in our country, in order to ensure that our companies are compliant on an ongoing basis as well. And then, on the tax front, we must look at the impact of those and how companies operate and how we can contribute to ensuring that companies can cope with that. As I conclude, all of that is summarized into opportunities that this environment presents, threats, of course, that all of this presents, as well as internally what our weaknesses and strengths are. And the CEO, will deal with that in a bit more detail. In summary, however, as FoodBev SETA, we believe we are fundamentally strong. And I'm saying this having been chair of the board for 4 years now. We are strong in as far as governance is concerned. So we have good governance systems. Secondly, we have a strong management team in our view, astute managers that we continue to develop. Our IT environment, in our view, is strong, as well. And you have to continuously update it. And lastly, that we have been consistently complying with the mandate we have and with the laws that, and there are many, about 12 in total when I counted, that govern the work that we do. We are not that strong yet in as far as managing silos within the organization is concerned. We believe that there are still, departments within the organization that operate as silos. So integrating those, in our view, will produce better results going forward. We are also not spectacular at measuring the impact of the work that we do. When you have subjected a learner to a course, following that learner all the way through into employment, the difference that this is making to their family, et cetera, all the way, we are not spectacular at doing that. It's therefore possible that we do far more than we know. We do far more than we say because we are not measuring the impact as well as we should. Our grant application systems are also, in our view, nowhere close to where we would like them to be. And this is why we get cancellations, towards the end of the year, in the fourth quarter in particular, which fuels this perception that SETAs are cash flush and they're doing nothing with the money. So essentially what happens is, we go into the fourth quarter of the year believing that we've fully committed our funds. We come out of the fourth quarter of the year with quite a lot of those funds no longer being committed because there were cancellations. And what that gives rise to, when somebody looks at our financial statements, they're sitting on reserves. Secondly, we have multi-year projects, right? So you approve a partnership project for 4 years. In the first year, when the approval takes place, you take that money, you put it aside. Somebody looking at your financials in year 2 says, sitting on a huge surplus here. So these guys are just sitting on this money that is required, for other purposes out there. And it's our view that our grant management system, must help us to deal with that amongst a lot of other things. And the other 2 areas that we think we should internally improve on is to give more attention to small businesses. For small businesses who are here today, I'm sure you'd know what I'm talking about. That we have a country, and this fake food phenomenon, has elevated how this must be understood. We have a country with a dual economy. One side of it, highly sophisticated, world-class, like the best in the world. The other part of it is seriously underdeveloped. There's a component there that is developed, and these coexist, and yet there's no clear bridge that connects them. And because of that, you find there's finger pointing one side to the other, instead of us focusing on ensuring that this other part, which is growing in number as the rates of unemployment and poverty continue to grow, these micro-enterprises are growing, in number. Instead of ensuring that we can lift those to compete at the right level. So with fake foods, what is happening is that larger companies are not affected by this, and they are not affected because they have all the resources it would take to pay for all of the systems that are required to ensure that they adhere to the law, and smaller companies can't afford that. Not that it's unimportant, particularly for the food sector. It's extremely important, that the environments within which food is manufactured are compliant. But at a practical level, I assure you, for many, many smaller businesses in the sector, it's next to impossible because of a limitation of resources. So we would want to pay, a little bit more attention to SMEs going forward. And then I mentioned rural communities as well. Look, Tula, I'm going to leave the opportunities and threats, to you as you present. Is it fair for me to do that? She's laughing at me. Let me do it quickly. Economic growth, cyber attacks, climate change, political developments, poverty, and of course, inadequate infrastructure are some of the major threats, taken from everything that I've said. The opportunities, the need for skills development remains. The need for partnerships is elevated in our view. Technological advancements cannot be ignored, is an opportunity nonetheless. Opportunities for smaller businesses are there. They must be converted so that they manifest. And lastly, the regulatory environment that we have in our view is quite an opportunity as well. I think we have strong and good laws in our country. We've never, in the new phase of our lives, been spectacular at implementing, but we have very good laws. And if we can implement those very well, we'll go very far. On that note, welcome to you. Thank you for coming today. I hope I've set the context for the next presentation, which will share with you our performance on a blow-by-blow basis for the year, as well as the financial statements that we got for this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much to the chairperson for really jump-starting our brains and really making sure that we focus on the very, very important things during this AGM. I think the message for me, more than anything else, is as the SETA, we've really chosen courage over comfort, and I believe all of us here, we do need to do exactly that. Just a few announcements. As the chairperson has mentioned, for those that have not registered, we are using the laptops outside. Please make sure that you register. You might have seen that we've gone totally paperless. And as well, there's a QR code for people who are connecting online, including yourselves as you are seated down there, for you to be able to see the program. We're moving right ahead to the adoption of the previous minutes. I guess all of us did receive the minutes. I'm not sure if you would like to put them on here. We're not going to go through the minutes. It's just the 9-page minutes of our previous AGM, which was held on the 17th of November at the Premier Hotel in Umhlanga in KwaZulu-Natal. So we take it you were all able to go through those minutes, and therefore would like to, number one, move. Ask for if there is any sort of like thing that we would like to add or say to these minutes, and if there's nothing, we would like to move for the adoption of the minutes. And for that, Makatsang and Priti will help me if there are any people having their hands raised. And please say your name so that we can record as to who moved for the adoption of the minutes, as well as the seconder. So they were circulated, as I've mentioned, so we take that everybody read through those minutes. I see the hand right at the back.
Good day, Program Director. I'm Gerald Griffiths. Just before the adoption, I would like to, there's a point, 2 points, point 8 and point 10 in the minutes. You know, the wording, the heading there, it's not on the screen now, and I don't have it in front of me, but the wording needs to be changed. Yeah. And the reason for that is, in the last meeting in KZN, you know, they say that the program director asked the stakeholders for something like any questions and so forth. Now, people being ignored in that meeting, blatantly ignored, because even me, my hand was up. And now we can't state that and say there was, because only 2 people were actually be able to ask questions. And therefore, we can't say that there was ample time. You know, and I just want to go further as that if one look at the Companies Act 71 of 2008, it clearly states that the AGM is for transparency, accountability, and also the fact that clarity. Now, once you put your hand up, it's not only for a question, it's sometimes for clarity. And when you've been denied that, then We can't put something on there. Further on, I don't have a problem with the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so I wish somebody had just put them up here, especially the 8 and 9. So, in other words, what we are saying, we should amend that. Someone to capture it properly for me. Makatseng, can you put that onto the screen? Page 8 and 9, or item 8 and 9. So that we're clear as to what is it that is being raised for amendments. It's fine? We'll amend. Okay, that is fine. So the last point is there's no problem with the minutes, it's just that issue. So we'll definitely be amending that, right? Okay, thank you so much. So can I therefore ask if there's anybody else, or we ask for the move for the adoption of the minutes? Right, so that was moving, right? So I take that was moving for the minutes, right? Right, and then the seconder. Anyone seconding? Okay, there's a hand right there. As we have mentioned, the name, please.
Chokozani Zaza, second the minutes from Woodlands Dairy.
Okay, thank you so much. So minutes seconded. Thank you so much, Chalazani. The next point will be the matters arising, right? The matters arising on the minutes. Are there any matters arising from the minutes before we call for the CO to give the annual report? Once again, Preeti, you help me. There is a hand this side.
Thank you very much. We acknowledge the concerns raised by the speaker that gave reference to them not being given an opportunity, and also reference to the Companies Act, I think of 89. But my proposition is that will only be prudently placed as matters arising emanating from the previous minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay. So that's the proposal. Any seconder so that we can move? Okay, there's a hand this side.
Hi, I'm just seconding, it's fine.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, if there's no other matters arising, again, it's hard to see people here because the lights are just flooding your eyes, but I'm sure I'm not leaving anyone behind for us to move to hear the address by our CEO. So, okay, right. So can we then move to ask Nogutula Slamlela, our CEO, to really come and deliver the annual report and the performance overview, of which I believe there's going to be a lot more that will be covered for any clarity after the chairman's address. Nogutula, over to you. Asimshayeli Som.
Wow, good morning. How good morning. Thank you. I just want to make sure that you are live. Welcome again to our AGM. It's always nice to come to Cape Town with its very moody weather. We got here yesterday, we were not sure whether we're in summer or in winter or in autumn or in spring. All types, it rained, it was sunny, everything. But fortunately, we had a good year, different to what we've seen here in Cape Town in terms of the weather. As the chairperson has highlighted, we have managed to achieve and exceed our targets. That's quite important. That's quite important because when we start the year, we have a contract with the Department of Higher Education and Training, with the board, and with our stakeholders. And for us to be able to reach these targets and exceed them, we need you as our stakeholders. So this is not us achieving the target, but all of us achieving these targets. So thank you. Round of applause to you as well. I'm not sure whether this is showing. It doesn't look like the presentation is showing. Technology must help. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to show here, so that you can, at least as I speak, follow what I'm saying and not just look at me only. So yeah, that is me over there, just in case you're confused. Cool. I won't take too much of your time. I think most of the things the chairperson has highlighted in terms of our achievements. We also achieved the clean audits, and as an accountant, I understand what a clean audit means, but private sector only knows an unqualified audit. But government speaks to a clean audit. And chairperson always insists, because we always debate this, because I say there's nothing called a clean audit in any of the statements that I've read in my young life. But perception means everything, and that's what he always says. And the perception is that for a public entity to be respected, and for you to know that we are having a good governed entity, then we need to strive to reach and get a clean audit. So getting a clean audit is, yes, not very easy, because we are a very compliant-based organization. So it is we are very proud, and we will sing this song until that we received an unqualified, and over and above that, a clean audit. Again, round of applause. So as FoodBev SETA, I think I'm not going to even dwell on, our vision, our mission, our values, but we have a new payoff line that when we launched our brand, which is to empower, to innovate, and to elevate. And for the industry, this means that we have developed the skills of professionals and our leaders. And for our employees, it means that we're providing resources and training and support that they need to excel in their jobs. From the innovation side, for the industry, it involves encouraging creativity, fresh ideas. We get a lot of fresh ideas, innovative ideas from the industry, and continuous improvement. And for our employment, it represents our commitment to staying ahead of all the trends. I mean, there are changing trends on a daily basis out there, especially in the skills development space and also in the manufacturing space. And we elevate. For the industry, this means striving for excellence and pushing boundaries. And for our employees, it reflects the dedication to raising standards and driving positive change through impactful work. We have a high-level team, and they are all over here. They're basically on that table. I'm sure you know all of them. If you don't, I'll just ask them to stand up for a minute. That's the team there. Those handsome and beautiful ladies are the ones. Oh, there's one over there. That are here to serve you. We are definitely here to serve you. We are not perfect, but we strive for perfection. So if there's anything that is a problem that you have, those are the people that you would definitely deal with. And myself, of course, and most of you probably know me by now. If you don't, you're behind. So come and see me. Sorry. We've had several flagship projects. Chairperson spoke about partnerships. These flagship projects, we do them with you as our partners. We've signed about 33 partnerships that are worth over 162 million. You will see when we talk about numbers, a lot of these partnerships have assisted us in overachieving our targets. I did say we reached 100% of our targets, but we actually over-exceeded most of these targets, and you will see just now when I talk about it. We have supported over 100 artisans in terms of entrepreneurial skills, where an artisan is already qualified, and then we have put them in a program where we're developing their business skills. We've empowered more than 9,200 underprivileged learners in terms of understanding careers that are available in the sector. You know that we developed through BRICS or with BRICS a class of emerging careers, and most of those careers are very digital based. So we need to make our learners understand what are the future or emerging careers that are there that they need to learn to us. We provided tutoring for over 1,200 students, our high school students, through a program that we're doing with the Western Cape Department of Education, and also in the Free State Department. We've supported over 30 small businesses and expose them to the global world by taking them internationally so that they can understand what the world, the international world needs, and how to export their goods to outside the country. I highlighted that we recently launched our brand, as you could see. I think you can see it all over here. We also have our robots here. And it was basically rebranding ourselves to reflect our renewed commitment to our mission and values, demonstrating our dedication to education excellence. So pictures of when we were launching the brand, quite exciting. Some of you came to our launch, and we thank you for that. We nurture talent in the organization ourselves. We do have reviewed our organizational structure so that we can service you more effectively and efficiently. About 53% of the positions are basically allocated to implementing projects. We have developed, approved, and currently do have qualifications. I think this was a very topical issue when there was a change in the qualifications framework. We developed, got approved 5 new qualifications that already have been approved from a learnership even point of view, so you can apply. We even have learning material developed for these qualifications, so it's not like the old days where you had to go and grapple and look for learning material. We have these qualifications approved, we have learning material approved, totally available to you if you want to be accredited. So please go ahead, come to us, apply for accreditation. You will get accreditation as long as you comply with all the requirements that you ask for. We have project digitalization of our processes. That is to improve the efficiency of how we service you as our clients, our stakeholders. So we have changed a whole lot of our system, trying to digitalize them and using also automation, AI, to improve our processes as well. This is a game changer for us because everything, basically, like you see, everything is paperless, QR codes, this and that. We're moving with the times. We have developed research through our research chair, Vice Research Chair. We've got about 7 research reports that we've developed, 3 research over and above what our target was. And if you need to know more about this research and their topics, you can find them on our website under publications. So almost every year we develop research that will assist you as our stakeholders to stay ahead. We conducted impact studies as part of our research, and what that highlighted to us is that about 54% of the learners that were sampled are currently employed. Thank you very much. And they found the programs that we trained them on to be very effective to prepare them for the workplace. But 52% of these employed learners actually secured their jobs within the sector. So the sector is working. We, again, thank you for that, because we do not want to train for the sake of training. We are training these learners so that they can be absorbed in the industry. If they are not absorbed, then they can become entrepreneurs. So we thank you for working with us to at least secure jobs for our young people. Yes, you can do more. We can do more. There are a lot of unemployed learners out there, but you are doing something. 71% of, we've got a 71% employment rate for internship programs, which really helps our learners get the practical component of their education so that they can get a qualification, because without these internships, they will not get their diplomas. So we do urge and continue to encourage our stakeholders to open their doors to our learners for them to be able to get practicals and then get their qualification. We've got 80% of the artisans and learnership participants that have exceptionally high job placement rates in the sector. So artisans are quite important for our sector because we are in the manufacturing space. Now I'm going to get into the numbers, like the chairperson highlighted, that AGM is all about numbers. That's all we're here to do, so that you can know where the money goes. The money that we collect from you, what do we do with it? We have program 1, which is very administrative. We reached all our targets for that. It's basically our plans and implementing of these plans. Then we've got program 2, which is the core of our business as well, which is about skills planning. We had an approved success skills plan that assists us and you as a sector to understand what are the current skills that are required and what are the future skills that are required as well. We have anything that you see with the plus, it means we've overachieved on that target. We had research reports that were approved, like I indicated. 7 of these research reports were developed in this current year. Our target was 4, we reached 7, so we overachieved by 3 reports. We had approved employers who received mandatory grants in terms of payment. Here, sometimes we have an issue, and we urge you, as our stakeholders, to please provide us with the correct banking details. Nothing frustrates us like you submit your WSP, you get approved, then you give us the wrong banking details, it means we can't pay you. So we do request that you always provide us with the latest banking details, just in case there are changes in your business, because then it means you're not going to be paid. We do not want to keep your money, so please ensure that you give us the right banking details. We can keep it if you want us to, but we don't want to. Then we've got a learning program 3, which is learning programs and projects. About 8,194 beneficiaries benefited from the programs that we have provided grants for. For the unemployed learners, we have several unemployed learners that were registered and completed. We've got unemployed learners that were registered in learning programs. 2,484 of those were registered, and 1,975 completed their programs. 333 learners unemployed, and this is specifically for unemployed. 333 were registered for skills programs. 243 of those completed their skills program. 128 registered on bursary programs. We have bursaries for unemployed and bursaries for the employed, and 112 completed their bursary programs. We have about 480 higher education institution learners that were registered, and 238 of those completed. 508 were placed in workplace-based programs, and 350 of those completed. And then with TVET learners that were registered on internships, 752 were registered, 564 completed their programs, and we had 5 candidacy program learners that were registered this in the year under review. When it comes to employed learners, so we fund, as you know, we fund the employed, we fund the unemployed. 5,681 beneficiaries benefited from our grants. 1,724 employed learners were registered. 1,040 of those completed. We had 1,453 registered on skills program. 693 completed. We had 131 registered in higher education institution, in management development programs, 89 of them completed. And then we had about 392 registered in adult education, and 154 completed their programs. So we've capacitated both the employed and the unemployed. We had apprentices, is very important in our sector. So we have trained and also focused on your RPL, which is those who already have the experience but just need the qualification. 435 of those who registered, 201 completed their programs. And with regards to the small businesses, we have funded about 698 business owners, 131 organizations, whether it's NGOs, in different interventions, mostly focused on developing their business acumen skills and their financial management skills, their marketing skills, and other skills that they need to grow and sustain their businesses. We have formed partnerships with our employers, about 6 of those, and 22 with TVET colleges and in higher education institutions. We also supported lecturers. 6 of them were exposed to workplaces, and because sometimes we have more completes because they would have started in the year before. What is important in lecturer development is that we need to really look at this because they are very important in developing the curriculum, and we need the industry to support this initiative and maybe provide them with a longer period in their industry so that they can learn the developing trends, the new ways of doing things in your own industry, so that they can go back to their colleges and be relevant in terms of the curriculum that they develop. So we do urge the industry to support us and support our lecturers by providing them with exposure to the industry so that they can be relevant. We also fund bursaries for research so that we can have these young people research on topics that will assist the industry. We funded about 39 masters and PhD students. 17 of those have completed. And it is really our pleasure that we've got a lot of these completing their PhD degrees. And we supported 3 unions. We've got 3 unions that are recognized in our sector. We supported all these 3 unions with different learning interventions. We are very focused as well and intentional in making sure that we've got our young people understand the careers that are available in the sector. And we had about 70 career guidance events that we hosted as a SETA. Some of them were in the urban areas, about 33, and others were in the rural areas, about 44 of those. And this, we are also having a program that we're going to launch very soon, which is very digitalized, and it's a career guidance which will also use VR machines to highlight and let the learners learn a skill. We've got career practitioners that we also trained, about 94 of those, so that they can make our learners understand what are the careers that are available in the sector. From a quality assurance point of view, Program 4, we have assisted 2 TVET colleges with occupational programs accreditations. A lot of our TVET colleges are not geared towards the manufacturing sector. However, we do have some that are understanding the importance of having learnerships that are accredited by their own colleges, and we continue to encourage them to apply for accreditation so that they too can offer some of our programs. I mean, most of the programs, they do have a hospitality section, but they just never understood that they need to apply to us for them to get other qualifications that we quality assure, like winemaking assistant, baking and confectionery, meat processing. All those qualifications can be offered in TVET colleges. We submitted qualifications, 2 qualifications to the QCTO, and then we also attained secondary accreditation for 3 public colleges in the year under review. So that is it from my side, from the performance information point of view. We will give an opportunity to everyone to ask questions at the end. And we take note of the comment made by our colleague, our stakeholder, who highlighted that they had questions that were not answered. There is also an opportunity to actually, as you're sitting here, engage with us, ask the questions. As you're sitting, we will be able to respond to those questions. And if you're not satisfied with the responses that we've given you you can also raise. But I'm just saying it's not just one-sided. You can raise a question here, or you can raise a question. The entire team that's sitting there have got their computers. They are going to be able to respond to the questions that you ask. So we will give you that opportunity. But of course, it will be limited because we can't open questions the entire day. Otherwise, we'll sit here the entire day. So please be succinct when you ask your questions. We will give you a limited time to ask the questions, but we have the whole day to ask the questions online. We will respond to all your questions online. But here in this room, there will be a limited time. So we urge you to really think carefully in terms of what you want to ask. We are here to serve you. I thank you. I will hand back over to the program director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much to Noptula for giving us the report. I think I don't need to stress what she has said. We are really here to serve you, but would love for you to please engage. We are all here as well, physically, even during breaks and all of that. Without wasting much time, I would like to ask Bafana Dlamini, our Chief Financial Officer, who's going to be delivering the annual financial statements, 2023-2024, as well as the annual performance plan budget for the 2024-2025. Sibal Khulu.
Thank you, Program Director. And on behalf of the board, the Chairman of the board, and then the various board committees, the audit committee that I report to, and also on behalf of the management team, the past and present management team, for the sustained work that FoodBev continues to do, in the past 24 years. And I believe that in the current financial year and going forward, the SETA will continue to deliver outstanding results that the chairperson and the CEO has already alluded to. And I also want to have a greeting to all our esteemed guests. Mine is just to present the financial performance of the organization. I'll go through to the first slide. On the first slide, we want to present our historic 5-year financial performance in terms of our revenue, where we are in terms of our revenue, and how have we performed, in terms of the past 5 years. So we have given the historical performance from 2020 to 2021 up to 2023, 2024. And in that period, we've seen that in 2019-2020, we were sitting at around just below 500 million rand. And due to COVID, the levies dropped down. But we are seeing that now we have gone up to just below the 600 million mark, which we believe it enables all our programs to be done, fulfilled, and to make also high-impact projects that will ensure that the skills delivery within our sector grows, and we can also create a lot of job opportunities within our sector. Can you just help me with the moving there? Okay. Now, as I've alluded that our revenue in 2019-2020, we were sitting just below 400 million. But as you can see now, we are just gone over the 500 million mark, which we believe that in total, our revenue also sits with the investment income. We are currently sitting at just below 600 million. So our greatest source of revenue comes from our levies, and a small portion comes on our investment income on the monies. So we make sure that we continue every money that is received by us, we make sure that it is invested properly, no amount just sit in the bank, so that we can attract the enough interest rate so that that money, investment income, can be redirected again, to fund all our discretionary projects. So in the 23-24 financial year, we had 85% of our source of revenue coming from our levies, and then 13% was invested in terms of our corporate deposit fund, which attracted a lot of interest, and then only about 2% come from our penalties and levies and some grant recoveries. On the expenditure, as you can see, we also historically, there was an increase in terms of the amount that we spent on the mandatory grant. It has grown from 2019-2020 to 2023, just over 100 million. So we are budgeting that this figure, we continue to ensure that we involve all the employees to make sure that they submit all their work skills plan so that we can fund those work skills plan and make sure that there's proper training that is happening, at an employer level. On the discretionary grant, as the CEO has mentioned, that we have achieved 100% of our target. Our role as finance is to make sure that each and every project that is done, is financed properly and is executed. In 2023, we have grown in terms of our expenditure, our mandatory grant, and the project admin. So project admin is all related to what we do on the discretionary grant, and also our project admin in terms of the grant funding, we are limited to spend 10.5% and make sure that we don't exceed the 10.5, and 7.5 is spent on the project admin in all the discretionary projects that we do as an organization. We are sitting now at over 586 million, and we've made sure that all our disbursements, they take place in time. This slide just compares between what we receive as our revenue and our expenditure, and the comparison between what we retain as a surplus. As you can see on the graph, we're already sitting at where in 2023 there is equalization between the revenue that we have received and the expenditure that we have paid. And this is the graph that we want to make sure that whatever we receive, we disperse all of it, and we retain very small amount as a surplus fund. Our aim is that if we receive 100 rand, we should be able to disperse the entire 100 rand. So we encourage our management team that we work tirelessly to make sure that every program that is funded, we make sure that we disperse, and also employer make sure that whatever programs that they have done, we have zero cancellation or termination to make sure that we can fully spend our graph. So with this chair, I would like to thank the CEO, the board also on the oversight that they have kept for management and ensuring that not only do we achieve our targets, but we also exercise financial prudence and proper cash management, and ensure also that we put proper and prudent financial system to ensure that we achieve our objective. And thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lamini. This being your first, by the way, presentation on the AGM. Appreciate it. On that note, I'm reminded, please, to urge every one of you, especially those that have not registered, to please go and register or register yourself using the method that has been shared here outside, actually, to our people there at the desk. So, may I therefore from here ask Mr. Puti Semenya, who is going to be giving us the auditor's report for 2023-2024. That is Menya.
Morning, everyone. Mine is the easiest task, really, is to give you the good news. But I thought before I do that, I was reminded recently of my role in 1993 when I was still at high school. I played Julius Caesar, and I was Julius Caesar. And in that, what I remembered recently is the saying by Mark Anthony, who I wanted to play because he had a better role, honestly. He never died in the play. He talked about, I'm sure you know the famous speech of cowards die many times before their death. The valiant die, never taste of death but once. So what I wanted to refer to there is, down in his speech, he says that the evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. It was difficult to understand the English of Julius Caesar, so I'm going to interpret it for you. It meant that when you do bad things, everybody remembers it for a long time. But the good that people do is buried with them. I'm saying this because I am giving, and this is my second time, like Mr. Lamini, this report, and this is good report. We tend to remember the evil that, or the bad reports that government entities tend to give out, and they will be all over the news. The news of FoodBev SETA is not going to be in the news because it's good report. If there are reporters here, please for a change go out there and report on our good news. So I'm giving you a 5-year trajectory of our audit opinion, 2019, 2020, and I know that the CEO has already kind of tried to explain, the difference between a clean report and an unqualified report. In the private sector, it's only unqualified report. We don't talk of clean. It actually most of the time is never really that clean. Clean means there's no spot. And in private sector, you tend to have those spots, but so long as you know you're going to deal with them. So if we were private sector, would be counting 5 years of unqualified report. We still do count 5 years of unqualified report, because 2019-20, 2020-21, 2021-22, we only had, oh, it's not showing here. Oh, I was not told. She says I'm from Limpopo. In Limpopo, we don't have these things. So, and it tends to be very different from my one. But anyway, so we've had the unqualified reports for all these. I'm sure this thing can point as well. No, it doesn't. Or maybe I just don't know how to do it. So we've had 3 consecutive years of unqualified reports, and in those 3 consecutive years, we were fighting to have clean reports. I'm sure you are aware that in the last reporting period, 2022-23, we had our clean report, and it was a big challenge. Chairman was talking about our 98% in performance, where we said we're going to have 100%. We were not going to have 100% in performance and less than clean report, which apparently the opposite of is dirty. So we had clean report last year and we had clean report this year, which is really good news that I'm saying that we must spread it all around to make sure that people and other stakeholders start working with us, knowing that they're working with an entity that is run by good accounting authority and good leadership. Chairman, is that all I have to say? Sounds like I need to say more, but thanks very much.
Actually, I was still waiting for you to say more, Putsi. Thank you so much. That was very straight to the point, and we are very proud of the fact that we've really achieved this clean report. And thanks to everybody who made it a point that we achieved this. The annual performance plan for 2024-25 with our acting general manager, Mr. Sinaye Mgidi.
Program Director, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great honor this morning, it is still this morning, to present the FoodBev SETA 5-year strategic plan. But not only the strategic plan, but also the annual performance plan for the year 2025-2026. And I must indicate it that the chairperson has done a great deal in terms of presenting actually the strategic focus for FoodBev SETA. But what I'm going to do is just to present maybe some of the key areas which were already covered by the chairperson. As he was giving the word of welcome, I was looking at the presentation, then I asked myself, do I really need to go and present the strategic plan? Because ideally, the chairperson has already covered almost 95% of what I'm going to talk about now. But it is good for me because at least having been dedicated by the board to present the strategic plan of the board, it is really a great honor for me. Firstly, obviously, things that we have already heard about, what forms or informs our strategic plan or our 5-year strategic plan. The basis for our strategic plan is mostly from these key areas of PESTEL, which is political, environment, economic, social, technological, environmental, as well as the legal areas. So most of these personal issues have already been covered by the chairperson, but I'll just touch on one or two areas which are important. I think it's not business as usual in South Africa, as we all know that since the inception of the new democratic dispensation, for the first time, we've got the government of national unity, wherein we don't have an outright majority winner in our politics. Hence, the state of things is completely different. So one of the political areas which informs what we'll be doing in the next 5 years is the political issues, but in particular, the government of national unity. And of course, I think the chairperson has alluded to the three key areas the government of national unity has instructed us to have a focus on. So the other thing is the issue of public perception. I think the chairperson has also talked about that, to say one of the things that we are looking into and which we need to look into is not only from the politicians, like the chairperson has indicated, but also the public in general. They've got their own perception in terms of the role of SETAs and so forth. Hence, that is one of the other areas which informs where and how we are going to do in the next 5 years. Then in terms of the economic issues, just touching on the key ones, the issue of high unemployment rate. It's one of the things which we are going to focus on. And most importantly, as I will be going into the key areas in relation to this, because it cannot be correct that we have reached, we've got a clean audit, we've got 100%, the issue, so what? What does it mean? So these are some of the things that we need to look into, to say our 100%, our clean audit, what does it result into in terms of our economic approach? So those are some of the things that we'll be looking into as a SETA. And also the declining manufacturing sector in terms of economically. So going forward, we'll be looking into those areas. The other key area in terms of the social part is the issue of inequalities in our societies. So that's another area that we will be looking into, but as well as the issue of gender, youth, as well as people living with disabilities in our communities. On this one, I think the chairperson has dwelled much. I think no surprise that in his private life, he's also into a technology space. So I think the chairperson has indicated that this also inform our focus area going forward as a SETA. The issue of artificial intelligence has already been alluded to, not necessarily robotics when we talk of that. The chairperson has also given that background. But these are some of the things that as a SETA we will be looking into. And as well as environmentally, there are issues of stricter environmental regulations, which we as a SETA, we will be looking into. And the issue of legal, the part that I just need to indicate there is the fact that we've got more complex regulation that governs us as a SETA. And these are some of the things that we are critically going to look into going forward. But within our sector, within the food and beverages manufacturing sector, what are the change drivers? What are the things that really informs us in terms of the direction that we need to do? And you will agree with me that the issue of food safety and nutrition is one of the key areas which requires attention. And we know that in a country that there is a lot of food poisoning. There's quite a substantial number of children who have died as a result of food that is not safe enough. So as a SETA, this is one of the change drivers and one of the focus areas that we'll be looking into in the next 5 years. Technological advancement, I've already alluded into that one, that technology is one of the things that affects us. It doesn't matter which sector, because this one, it cuts across all the sectors, actually, the issue of technology. And also, the issue of population growth and urbanization. It also informs our direction which we need to take. As we all know that most of the people are moving from the rural areas into urban areas. For instance, you'll find a lot of influx people moving into Gauteng. So, but also that affect and change the way in which production and companies are growing within our sector. And also the issue of climate change is also affecting us, like the chairperson indicated earlier that, and I was also with the chairperson when we were in Ireland, when they were talking about that, no, the cows, they affect the climate and so forth. Actually, it did not make sense. We had to get a lot of workshop in order to understand how does that affect our climate change. But equally so, as we can see that now there's a lot of climate change, it's a reality, and we have already seen it happening across some of the provinces in the country. So that affects us a lot. And as well as another change driver, which is critical and which we need to respond to as a SETA, is the issue of energy crisis. Not energy crisis necessarily that ESCOM, maybe, as we all know, in the past energy crisis, we always related to load shedding. But it's more than that, because also energy efficiency. So that's another issue which affects us as a sector, and that's one of the things that we will be looking into and trying to bring about improvements for our sector. Chairperson and members of the public, stakeholders, I'm now going to just focus on the key areas in response to all the change drivers, as well as the political pestle, which I've just indicated earlier on. But one of the things, and what I want to reiterate, for us as a SETA, is no more the game of numbers. Yes, we are doing good in terms of the game of numbers. Yes, we have done good in terms of directly, I'll say directly, ensuring that we meet the requirements of what Auditor General wants, because that's what informed a clean audit. But we are saying it's not only about that in terms of key issues which we need to improve on, but our 5-year strategic outcomes are linked to our National Skills Development Plan outcomes. But for the purpose of this presentation, and I'm going to focus more on the interventions which will be bring about by FoodBev SETA. The first one, we are saying in the next coming 5 years, our focus should be on a well-governed, future-fit organization. Why are we saying that we need to be a well-governed? Obviously, for simple reasons, as indicated earlier, that there are perceptions around the SETAs. So we need not only make sure that we get a clean audit, but we also need to make sure that as a SETA, we also become an ethical organization. So these are some of the things that we need to make sure that we cover very well. Particularly, when you look at the perception of the percentage of FoodBev SETA qualifications offered through digital platforms. So this is something that we are saying that it cannot be business as usual, because the way we are doing things, and even in respect of digital transformation, we need to make sure that going forward into the next 5 years, that the way we offer our qualifications, we should do it differently. Hence, we are saying that one of the outcomes that we'll be focusing on as a SETA is a well-governed, future-fit organization. And the second thing that we will be focusing on as a SETA is increased absorption of trained learners. You know, this one, I must indicate it a week ago, we had a lot of engagements with Auditor General, because they were saying that, but our FoodBev SETA outcome does not link with what we are doing, because we talk of training, but we say our 5-year outcome is absorption. How do these two tally? But we explained that our focus now is to make sure that the learners that are in training, the impact that we are looking into the future is to see them being absorbed. So hence, we are saying that we need to think not only in terms of numbers, but somewhere we will also be focusing on ensuring and encouraging that there is an absorption rate in terms of the learners that are being trained. And in this respect, we are saying the percentage of trained learners that have been absorbed. That's one of the things that we are looking forward into as a strategic intervention. Then another outcome that we are looking on as a SETA is increased awareness to skills development interventions. Because we have realized that the work that we are doing as a SETA, not everybody out there, they know about it. And hence sometimes that we also get a negative perception about the SETAs. So we are saying that going forward, we need to make sure that in these next 5 years, we do increase the awareness to skills development interventions. Then the number of social media followers, because you know, so some of the things, like my colleagues have said, they've indicated earlier, there's a lot of work that we are doing as a SETA, but the focus tends to be on those negative things. So we are saying as a SETA, like now that we've got 100%, we've got a clean audit, you know, if we do not, that information, we don't share it with the public out there, only what is negative, that if it happens to come, it will be known to the people out there. So we are saying as a SETA now, we need to improve access to skills development interventions, but at the same time, we need to communicate very well in terms in respect of our social media. Here's another important aspect, and I'm happy the Deputy Minister has just come in, and I know that this is very close to the department. We are saying that as a SETA, we are going to have, we want to have a PSET sector that is well capacitated to deliver food bev interventions. Can you imagine, for instance, as an example, if currently, as we speak, it is a fact that our PSET is not much into the food space. And hence, if our PSET sector can be much into our FoodBev SETA qualifications, maybe there will be even be more awareness that will reduce this food poisoning and so forth. But the most important one here, we also want to engage with the CET, Community Education and Training Colleges, and make sure that they get accredited on the FoodBev SETA qualifications, because currently very few qualifications on which they are accredited. And here's another important part. We want to increase stakeholder participation, because if the number of stakeholders with whom FoodBev SETA has collaborated, maybe we want to make sure that we will increase on those, so that all our stakeholders should know what is happening within the FoodBev SETA space. But how best do we do that? We are also going to do that through increasing the percentage of eligible mandatory grants payout, the percentage of eligible DG payout, and the number of companies that submit mandatory grants. These are some of the things that we are looking forward to do in the next 5 years. And also improve responsiveness of the FoodBev SETA. So the perception as well, this one, we are going to conduct a number of perception index to see what do our stakeholders think about FoodBev SETA, so that we can be more responsive as a sector. Most importantly, another outcome that we want to dwell much into in the next 5 years is increased transformation of the food and beverage sector. Also, again, the focus might have been more on numbers, but we are saying that if we say we have trained this percentage of youth, we have trained this percentage of people, learners with disability, the issue in this case is not just about training them. Hence, the key word there is functional within the sector. We are saying that those that we have learned, they should remain in the sector, and then we'll be able to say we are making a difference. But if we train them and we don't know what happened with them, then they do not make a difference as such. Hence, one of the outcome indicator which we'll be looking into is the percentage of historically disadvantaged individuals who were exposed to FoodBev SETA interventions and have risen to senior management positions. Because I think in the past, the focus will be, we train them, but we don't track whether they do go into the next higher level. So once we have trained, going forward, we want to track and make sure that they do get absorbed into higher position within the sector. That was our maybe a summary of what the chairperson has presented earlier in terms of the FoodBev SETA strategic focus, and I was just touching on the key areas in relation to the plan in terms of how we're going to do. But now, in terms of supporting that 5-year strategy, we have got the annual performance plan. This is what we, on a yearly basis, what we are going to do. So we've got the focus of 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and so forth until 2029, 2030. So for the next financial year, 2025, 2026, we have developed 51 targets. These are the targets which will be supporting our strategy. And we will be monitoring this annual performance plan on a yearly basis to see that it is responding to our 5-year strategy. Because sometimes you do find out a situation wherein the strategic plan is there on a shelf, but the APP is doing something different. So we are going to monitor and make sure that our APP does fit and respond to our strategic plan. So we'll have a 51 strategic targets, and these targets we will sign an annual performance plan as well as the service level agreement with the department. So under Program 1, we have got 6 indicators. Program 2, we have got 8 indicators. Under Program 3, which is the core of the SETA, we've got 33. And for Program 4, we've got 4 indicators. So on these ones, maybe I will not go much into the details, but these are the indicators which we have set, which will be responding to the strategic plan. But the most important one, the first one, number of good governance report, because that is another thing. Because if you are not doing good on this one, then we might not be responding to what the sector wants and as well as to what the community wants. Then percentage of implemented control improvement plans as per the strategic risk register, and percentage of procurement items awarded with the forecasted timelines. So we are saying that whatever we have planned in terms of procurement, we need to deliver it as planned. Then percentage of vacant critical positions, because this is critical, because if we do not fill on the critical positions, we will not be able to deliver on our mandate. And percentage of organizational business processes digitalized. I think the chairperson earlier on indicated that one of the things that we are not doing good as a SETA is the fact that we are still somewhat operating in silos wherein different units, they do not integrate well. So in this case, not only we are going to have it indicating what we are going to do, but we also want to make sure that the integration of business process should also be digitalized. Number of digitalized business processes that are artificial intelligence enabled. So this is what is going to assist us. And as we're speaking, we've already started gradually, like it was indicated earlier that even our registration here is paperless. So as a SETA, I think when I started some 3 years ago, everything was based on paper. You will go to our printers were being maintained each and every week. But currently, I'm happy to indicate that at least we are in the right direction, because almost 95% of what we are doing administratively, it does not require paperwork. Then a number of eligible medium companies whose WSPs and ATRs are approved. These are the programs for indicators responding to program 2. I will not go into into more details. They are almost standard as per what we have done previously. Then these ones as well, I will not go line item by line item because most of them, they are more aligned to the service level agreement and they are somewhat standardized in terms of what we are doing. And the most, another critical one here is the issue of completion. And because we have realized that also with our TVET, as much as we want to capacitate them, but there are those students in our TVET sector who do not complete their program. So in terms of college students who have completed a workplace-based learning program, these are critical because we do get them from registration, but quite often they do not complete their programs. So this is another area that we are going to focus on. I just want to touch on the program 4, another important area in terms of quality assurance. The last indicator which we've got, we did not have this one in the past. It's a number of FoodBev SETA learning offering hosted on online platforms. So another element wherein we mean business about not doing things as usual, but doing things differently. So we are saying that we want to make a commitment that we will start to ensure that our programs, FoodBev SETA programs, we transform them and make sure that we transition from a class-to-class offering, where in most of them, we should start to implement them online. Hence, another strategic intervention, maybe because our chairperson is also more into the digital space, but this one, it's one of the areas which we have thought that it's really important for us to follow and to make sure that our learning offerings are offered online. So that marks the end of the part which was delegated to me by the board. Like I've indicated, this is a strategy for the board. It's just an honor for me to present it on behalf of the board. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mgidi. I do know that there's a lot that needs to be said, and we press you so much on time. But thanks to all of you who have really come and presented here, because we would want all our stakeholders to know exactly what's happening within their SETA, and it's tough to congest and put everything together like this. But thank you, and at least you've got the documentation that is out there, and which you can always refer to in terms of more detail, more meat. And I'm very happy that, as my colleague mentioned, that we've got Deputy Minister in our midst, Mr. Putimanamela, and he's already here. I'm going to have an honor to ask the CEO to come here and introduce our Deputy Minister, who's going to be our keynote speaker. And I hope everything is now sorted as far as miking him and all of that. CEO, please come to the fore. Thank you.
Testing? Okay, perfect. Thank you. It is our pleasure to welcome the Deputy Minister, Mr. Putimanamela, to our annual general meeting. He is currently getting mic'd, so I've got an opportunity to introduce him. We, as FoodBev SETA, have been allocated to him as the Oversight Minister in the Department of Higher Education and Training. Mr. Putimanamela has been Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training since June 2024. Before then, he was the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation He is a former Deputy Minister in the Presidency. He serves as a member of the South African Communist Party Central Committee and in the African National Congress National Executive Committee. He holds a master's in public policy and development management from Wits University, and he also studied digital electronics at the Tshwane North TVET College. He served as a deputy president of South African Student Congress, SACCO, president of the South African College Students Association, now known as SAVETA, labor organizer of SACAU, and was elected National Secretary of the Young Communist League of South Africa in 2003 until 2014. Honorable Deputy Minister, it is our pleasure to welcome you to come and give us your keynote address. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, yes, you can now. I feel like when I was being mic'd there, that I'm not going to give a speech, but probably perform a song or something. I'm not used to this mic, I'm used to this one. So, but let's see how this goes. Thank you, Chief Executive Officer of the Food and Bev SETA, Chairperson of the Food and Bev SETA, together with members of the board, the Accounting Authority, and greetings to everyone who is here. I understand there are a lot of important people, so good morning to all of you. It's just 3 minutes past morning. I'm quite excited to be here to be speaking at your AGM, which is the first time. I know both the chair and the CEO have been trying to get me to come to speak at the AGM of Food and Bev SETA, but because of this or the other engagement in the past, I haven't been able to. And so we were quite fortunate that we have Parliament and extended cabinet meetings taking place in Cape Town. So I asked to be excused so that I come and engage with yourselves, the members of the Accounting Authority, members of the board, but also leaders in the sector, because I think that's more what this annual general meeting should be about. We currently have a crisis around food and food-related poisoning, death. Children died in Soweto, those whom we are aware of, and there probably could be other cases. And this is something that I think this SETA should be preoccupied with. Our response as government has obviously been to put in place legislation to prevent this from happening, to help reorganize the informal trading sector, to get them to be registered, and so on and so forth. But I think those of you who are practitioners, who are active, who are business people, who are professionals in the sector need to help us to think through this crisis proactively. I was home this weekend, so my mother sells a lot of stuff, including Acha, and she said to me, please ask the president if I should also register for my Acha business, okay? And I suppose she should, but so that's regulation. So we're going to be putting in place regulations and more policing, more monitoring, and so on and so forth. But I also think that we need a proactive intervention that should come from the sector in terms of what needs to be done so that quality, affordable, nutritious food is provided in our township, and people shouldn't doubt whether what they're picking from the shelves is of good quality or not. And so I know that your term as this board is coming to an end in 2025, but I suppose that it would be timely for you to hand over to the incoming board a set of intervention that needs to be done that will not only help us to stop the crisis that is happening in the township, especially in Soweto. I think that's where more cases have been reported, to use this opportunity to ensure that the interventions, proactive interventions that we come up with help us to build, in the true sense, not only the consumption component of the township economy, but also the productive section, help bring formalize businesses, small businesses, and employment, and so on and so forth. So I thought I should start with that, because it is not only the consumers who suffer, but it is also the brands themselves that suffers. It is also the traders, the honest traders in the townships that suffers. And so to bring the credibility of small businesses in the township, I think we need you who are in this room, together with various other SETAs, working together with a whole range of other government departments, for us to make a proposal of a lasting solution on how we can help improve the quality of informal trading in the township. I think we'll have a discussion with both the chair and the CEO around some of the possible things that can be done, but those solutions shouldn't come from government alone. I think those solutions should come as a result of the interface between the private sector and the government and its agencies, but also the communities in those townships. Sometime next year, the President will be making known public the plan of government from 2025 to 2030, which will be aptly referred to as the medium-term development plan. Okay, the MTPB. There's so many of these abbreviations and acronyms in government. And anchoring that medium-term development plan would be a part of moving from, well, not moving away from, but consolidating the plans around the National Development Plan and its principles of inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and tackling the high cost of living, and also building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. And so our sector, the post-school education and training sector, adopted last year, last year, the National Plan for Post-School Education, and also in 2019, the National Skills Development Plan. And so this AGM takes place within the context of a new government, but also you handing over to a new accounting authority sometime next year. I've already spoken about one of the things that you should be thinking about handing over I will touch on one or two more of those things at the conclusion of my talk here today. Your SETA, the Food and Bev SETA, is critical to the growth of the South African economy as it ensures that the workforce and the unemployed are equipped with the skills required in the food and beverage manufacturing sector. This is in accordance with the national objectives and priorities laid out in the National Development Plan and the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, both of which highlight the critical role of skills development in promoting socio-economic advancement. The sector should prioritize, among other things, the development of future skills, technological advancement associated with the fourth industrial revolution, influence all sectors and industries, requiring the workforce to adapt to new working methods. Future skills are critical in enhancing career prospects for individuals, the industry, but also in growing the economy. And so it is this reality that the world faces unprecedented challenges: climate change, of course, technological disruption, and shifting global dynamics. We need an innovative, resilient, and adaptable workforce. And I'm sure that you'll agree that skills development is central to keep up with the ever-changing needs of the labor market. Technology, which is a driving force of the fourth industrial revolution, is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it transforms how we learn, how we research and interact with knowledge. But on the other hand, it represents other challenges that we need to always respond to, such as updating the curriculum offered by our higher education institutions and the training providers, issues around cybersecurity, information security breaches, ethical challenges, and so on and so forth. Our priority must be to leverage technology to enhance the learning, training, and development. As we drive skills development, it is also important to remind all stakeholders and employers present here that skills development is a collective responsibility for all of us. The department, its entities, quality councils, higher education institutions, training providers, employers, professional bodies, and so on and so on. Skills development is a cycle. There's a myth that government should produce graduates who are ready for employment. That's a myth. That's completely unattainable, because learning for work on its own does not end at a university or at a TVET college or at a community college, but it is a continuous process that needs to also be enhanced at the point of employment. And I know that there has historically been all these arguments that have been presented that we do not have adequate training facilities as government, that some of the graduates who come from our universities and our TVET colleges and community colleges do not have what it takes for them to take up employment. But what we also need to emphasize is that government trains for the entire sector, and that there are minimum standards that government skills development and training programs have to meet, and that graduates need to be able to be functional in particular areas for them to be employed. But it is also, I think, the responsibility of the employers with the facilities and agencies that we've put in place as government, including sector education and training sectors, to help us complete that training process, to help Tiger Brands, to help Coca-Cola, to help all the major and minor, smaller actors in the industry to help those young people who are freshly employed to reach a certain level of employability. I assume, and it's important that I say that, and this is based on my interaction with a lot of people within the private sector, that there's a lot of training that is taking place in the private sector. And that training, some of it obviously funded by the state, but most of it as a result of private sector initiatives. And the intention of that training is to complete the training process which the state would have laid the foundation. I'm not suggesting that we do not have to continuously improve, which we do. Most of our SETAs have been involved, and I want to applaud the board and the senior management of Food and Bev SETA, for instance, for integrating technology and for encouraging the use of technology in learning and teaching, and a whole range of other changes that leads to improving quality in training in the public sector. But, just as it happens everywhere in the world, workplaces are an important platform for training. And that is why in the last few years of the last term, we introduced workplace-based training programs that were fully funded so that we give unemployed young people an opportunity to experience the workplace and to augment whatever other training that they may have received. In fact, I think to expect a student to be fresh from a workshop or from a classroom in a TVET college or university and to be plug and play in a factory would be as good as expecting a newly manufactured robot without being fed with the artificial intelligence that it may require to perform certain duties. And so I think we need to appreciate the fuller cycle of training. Yes, we should improve on our part. We were speaking earlier today with the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training about our readiness for next year. And one of the things which we said to them was that, yes, we may not grow as much as we want quantitatively and given the demands that are out there, but we are going to strive to improve the quality of education in our country, the post-school education and training, especially targeting our TVET colleges and our community colleges. But we need employers to be partners with us to help us conclude the training process, to take advantage of our internship programs, to take advantage of the workplace skills-based programs that are there, some of them that can be jointly funded by both yourself and government. What this will do is that even if you do not absorb those young people within your factory, we will have young people whose training would have also been completed by exposure to workplace training. So I think in whatever else that was being said about the strategic plan, major task, major challenge that I challenge you to hand over to the new accounting authority and consequently senior management is, how do we resolve the crisis in our township with food poisoning and so on and so forth, beyond putting in place regulations by ensuring that there's quality food, cheaper food, affordable food that goes into our township that people can trust on, but that also helps to contribute economically in those townships. Secondly, how do we continue to contribute in augmenting government's skills program, the work that we're doing in our TVET colleges, in our universities and community colleges? How do we ensure that we help 10 workplaces into proper training program? Proper training places, which will in turn help us to improve your own productivity and therefore grow our own country. So that's the second thing. And the last thing that I would really want you to hand over to the new accounting authorities. It may as well be some of you who are here. So when I say new, it's obviously, technically, you'll be starting a new term if you come back. So you shouldn't be looking at me thinking, is the deputy minister chucking us away not to come back? It's not my decision, it's the minister's decision. So, but I think the point is that this has been one of those SETAs that, in terms of governance, in terms of programs that have high impact in the sector, meaning the sector that it organizes, the food and beverages sector, but also broadly in the post-school education and training sector. But also this has been a SETA that has been contributing quite well, for instance, in our world skills, and a whole range of programs that we believe have been crucial in advancing the impact of the post-school education and training sector. And I think that part of the responsibility of the incumbent accounting authority or board is to make sure that in our exchange with the incoming board, our experiences of the last 5 years need to have an impact in what defines the program for the new board. I want to congratulate you for having convened this annual general meeting, and I hope that your deliberations will help take the food and beverages sector forward, and therefore take the post-school education and training sector forward, and consequently take our country forward. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much once again, Honorable Deputy Minister, for really reminding us that skills development is a collective responsibility for all of us. And all the words that you have spoken here, which are so crucial in us really aligning and moving along in terms of making the necessary impact that our society needs. Truly appreciate your words and the encouragement thereof. Can we once again give a round of applause for Deputy Minister? We are entering the question and answer session. I'm going to give this opportunity to all of you as our stakeholders, including those who are online, who would like to ask some questions or make comments, not just questions only, but comments as well in terms of all that which has been presented here, so that we can hear your view and add your word into whatever is happening here. So I hope my colleagues are going to help with the microphone that must rove around. And I'm going to request that as you are asking, tell us your name, and then I would want to take 3 questions at a time. And Lerato and the team, if you can help me, just make sure that we record that. I see the mic right at the end. Thank you.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me? Okay, yes. My name is Lynn Singlewood-Smith. I represent ShopRite, and I want to just thank the FoodBev SETA for the opportunity of being invited to this event today. My question is for the Minister. And from ShopRite perspective, we really drive skills development very hardly, and we push it. We train 7,500 learners a year, of which 3,500 are unemployed youth. My question to the Minister is that even though WNR SETA is our primary SETA, we are also accredited with the FoodBev SETA due to our bakery and our meat markets. And I hear the Minister asking us to partner and to join government and, move forward with skills development. But we find ourselves sitting in a situation now where all of our qualifications with SETA were not extended, the legacy qualifications, which also impacted the FoodBev. When meeting with the CEO of SETA, we were told it was an oversight from the QCTO and that only the minister can grant us an extension of those legacy qualifications. So we've been put in a situation where we are forced to go forward. We have to train, and we are implementing the QCTO qualifications. We've applied for accreditation, of which we've already got almost 10 sites accredited. However, for our meat and bakery people, we actually have nothing to train them. So that is a huge challenge for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The Deputy Minister, is he still here? Just left. But I hope the board, the CEO will actually tackle that. Can I just take another? I said I will take 3 questions at a time. If we can just be succinct and ask the question. Help me there, Lerato. I see the hand that side and that side. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Susan Malima. I come from Limpopo Department of Education. I listened to the chairperson and the CEO and one of the managers, and the minister just made my question very relevant. We're having a challenge in the basic education sector, which I believe this SETA is going to be more relevant. You currently indicated that you're working with Western Cape and Free State. And given the fact that the food poisoning problem is affecting almost all the 9 provinces, I believe that maybe province number 3, where your flagship projects will also come in handy, will be Limpopo, followed by maybe KZN and Eastern Cape and the other provinces. Because it's you, whether ShopRite or Pick and Pay or any other company that is here, are going to be very useful in changing the problem that we have and make it, bring up all the solutions through the contribution of this sector, especially on the food. We have National School Nutrition Program, where we always get people to come and help without paying them anything. But if you can come in and say, we are going to go into all the provinces and we train all those people and also contribute in terms of, not funds, food and everything, our basic education will do much better. So my plea is that come on board and be part of what the education sector wants to do through your assistant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just one more last in this round, and then we get to answer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm greeting the chair, the board, and all the leaders in the industry. My name is Natalie Michaels. I'm an STP, Human Capacity Consulting and Learning Solutions. And it was lovely listening, and I think very comforting to listen to all the achievements of the FoodBev SETA. It gives us as a STP great comfort to know that we doing good business and ethical business. I have a concern and also maybe a question. What is happening in the space of the transitioning to QCTO qualifications? We have a situation within the FoodBev SETA that with the GTC qualification being revoked, right now within the FoodBev SETA space, there is no learning pathway for our unemployed or semi-skilled or even a skilled person without a qualification to obtain a qualification, a full qualification. What is pending is the new SP, which must still be finalized, and we're hoping that that is going to happen very soon, which is the food complier. But it's a program with 16 units, 16 credits. And so it leaves the vulnerable worker, which is the masses in the workplace without a learning solution. So for us as a STP, we would like to encourage other STPs to continually engage with the QCTO and FoodBev SETA to come up with a remedy so that we can commit to what everybody is saying. Let's unify so that we can combat socioeconomic problems. We see that businesses are liquidating, and in that is that that unskilled, unqualified people is going to enter a market where they're never going to be able to move into the labor market. So for me, one is when will a solution be discussed and will we be engaged? And then with all the transitioning moves that is happening with the QCTO and FoodBev SETA, to please engage us. There are so many changes, and we are left in the dark. And I think that we are responsible for people's livelihoods, both for the businesses that we run, but also responsible to the businesses that we partnered with to upskill employees. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to the CEO, and she's going to determine as who else can answer those questions. Over to you, CEO. Please provide a mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, for the first question, the Deputy Minister had to leave due to the fact that he was in Parliament, and we apologize that he couldn't stay long, and he had to go back to the Portfolio Committee. However, we understand that you are frustrated by the non-extension of your qualifications. We will engage WNR SETA because unfortunately it is outside our mandate in terms of qualifications, but I understand your frustrations, and then we will engage our counterparts with the CEO of WNR SETA to try and assist. I'm really not sure how, because you did highlight that only the minister can extend these qualifications. I think there's a process that they are following currently to try and assist the industry that have complaints about qualifications that have not been extended. I think we also have one for food safety that has not been extended, that we are asking the QCTO to extend. That's still in the pipeline. So you're not WNR SETA are not the only affected ones. We just pleased though that most of ours have been extended. With regards to Department of Limpopo Education Flagship, we hear you. We just have to engage to understand how you want us to collaborate. As FoodBev SETA and the department, we do collaborate with other departments of other regions. We are not close to other regions coming to us. As long as we've got available funds, we will collaborate and train our people, especially in programs that are quite important, like food safety, especially in this day and age. The one for transitioning from human capital, I think I'll hand over to Dogozo to respond to that. He is our Senior Manager Quality Assurance. Thank you.
Thanks, CEO. Just to respond to Natalie, yes, we all understand that whenever there is a change that is taking place within a system, there is going to be challenges, and we are trying all, our utmost best to actually to make sure that we not leaving anyone behind. And then, if you recall, almost every quarter we have sessions with training providers as well as our skills development facilitators from our companies to just update and satisfy ourselves that all our stakeholders are moving with us in this transition. I do, however, acknowledge and understand that not everybody is able to attend to those sessions and get to be up to date with the issues. So it is always good if we get, contacted specifically, we can be approached, so that we can engage at a personal level with the stakeholders who are having issues. But we also share the very same sentiments that the transition itself is affecting livelihoods, in particular to training providers, to whom, training is a business, is through which they earn their living. And then we will continue to make sure that we engage with you adequately. Thanks.
Can I just give one more last chance for those who want to ask questions? And please just be very short so that we give each other time. There's a hand right there.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Professor Jessie van Beek. I represent the Department of Food Science and Technology at CPUT. Until very recently, the head of that department, and now semi-retired, but still involved. Mine is less a question than commentary on two very topical things that were mentioned. One by the minister, the minister also touched on the scourge that our country experienced in terms of the deaths of young children due to foodborne illness. So, Department of Food Science and Technology, obviously that's close to my heart, and other people mentioned it as well. The minister also emphasized the importance of the workplace being the finishing school, if I may use that term, for trainees in food, students in food science and technology. And I have started engaging at our esteemed CEO, but listening to this now, it's just so important and it's vital at this stage of the advent of AI in all sectors of our businesses, that the universities move closer to industry by having effective workplace-based programs. And so, Mr. Lamolela, the conversation will have to be escalated and ratchet up to a much higher level in terms of really making that placement effective. I will just end by saying this. I've got good experience of such programs being enormously successful in countries like France and Germany and Austria, where, and this is an important point, the industry is then willing to become a training partner together with the universities.
Thank you.
So that conversation needs to be held, and I'm hoping that the Deputy Minister will be one of those pushing this very important aspect of producing job-ready and fit-for-purpose food scientists and technologists.
Thank you, Prof. Very, very valid comment. Truly appreciate that. If there's anyone on our virtual platform who's got a question, two more last, and then we close. Please monitor that for me. Any question? Are we almost done? This hand right there. Thank you.
Mr. Program Director, I'm too long so that you can't miss me. Hey. First of all, I'm Gerald Griffiths. I just want to say to the chairperson of the board, it was 4 years ago when we talked at a meeting, at the AGM. And there were so many promises, but nothing materialized. The one that we're going to have a longer meeting, the other one that you want more to know about fishing. Maybe you're gonna stay longer and then we can talk.
Yeah.
For one. Then secondly, I want to congratulate the FoodBev SETA on the clear audit. It must have been, wow, 100% and so forth. It's It's a great achievement. Not all of the SETAs get that achievement. Let me come to the question secondly. You know, I'm always a thorn in the flesh. I don't know why, but I would like to check up on the expenditure, which were just flashed there and looking at the grants and the projects. Now, my problem with that is that, you know, the projects is something that I'm always raising in every meeting. Who's getting this project? And how do you go about it? But in 2020, I believe that there was no advertisements of projects. Now, I always ask, how did people get the projects? And is it that they finish? We always see that on the flip side of things, that there's always the thing that so many learnerships was done. And then, does it include the projects? So that is my first question. And why is it that the DG money that was set out and say companies decline, that those monies doesn't come back again to the DG budget, so that those who didn't receive what they were asking for maybe get a second window in that, and instead of the project or the so-called partnerships, who we don't know who's getting it, how is it advertised, and so forth. So
sure.
that is really one of the things that bothers me. The other thing, Mr. Chair, you know, I think in the last meeting we set out on the wrong foot. You know, and this time I want to make it right by saying, you know, we normally, I think the FoodBev SETA used the Kingdom 4 or what document? Something like that. The last time I read it. Now, in terms of the Company Act of 71, number 71, 2008, I'm going to go again there, you know. In terms of the committee, the audit committee, it's always like we agree and sign off what you actually called, Mr. Chair, the graveyard session. We sign off because everybody wants to go home and so forth. But according to this act, every AGM, after say 4 or 5 years, depends on how long that committee, that audit committee is, there must be a new committee elected or names been forwarded within the AGM, and it never happens. And it never happens. You know, and that is also worrying. You come here and then you attend and then you see, oh, there's the board, the committee chairperson, there's this one and that one. But you try to ask, you try to find out where is it that you can complain about certain things also, or to look at certain things. That is my next point, but I think it's about time that, Mr. Chair, that we looked at that and say, okay, right, the names are there, the names are forward, let's say adopt these names for the next term or whatsoever. But we can't just go on and say, okay, we've signed that. And that is, hence I was saying the last time, that looks like a rubber stamp.
Okay.
Because we all agree to that.
Okay.
The other,
can we...
the last one.
Please, can we just be short? Yes, please.
Yes, the last one. And then I would like to travel overseas, but I don't know how much it costs. In the last financial year report, there was only the local, what do you call it, traveling fees, you know. Can someone just say how many does FoodBev spend on international fees? I would like to know that, because I want to travel. A lot of people just go over. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to allow the CEO now to answer, as well as to direct as to whoever else needs to answer those questions, because immediately after this, we'll go to the vote of thanks. Like the CEO mentioned before, we are all here, and if there's any other questions, you are more than welcome to approach the board as well as the management. But in the interest of time, I think we've given enough time just to ask those questions. Over to you, CEO.
Thank you. I will share the responses with my team. Maybe, I'm not sure I actually understood the one about the audit committee and rubber stamping, but I can assure you that our audit and risk committee is an independent committee of the board. It doesn't rubber stamp anything. We get audited by external auditors and we get audited by internal auditors. And then they report to the audit and risk committee, which is independent, and then to the board. So there's definitely no rubber stamping in terms of the complaint that you laid. We are also governed by the constitution of the SETA, which is not necessarily the Companies Act, but aligned to. So I need to make it clear that we have a very independent ARC led by an independent chairperson. With regards to the travel, that information is definitely in the financials. It is clearly indicated in the financials what is our travel, where we go to. That is not information that is in the financials because that's operational. However, as a public entity, we are a global entity in terms of what we need to understand. We service multinational companies. We don't just service local companies only. We learn from the trips we take outside the country. So it's not just joyrides. We go there, learn, come back, implement. Some of the projects that we've implemented, I did highlight at my presentation. So that is part of what we do, but unfortunately we cannot fund external parties to travel overseas as well. With regards to the projects are advertised, but I will let Mr. Snaye to add more. There is no project that is not advertised. We've advertised opening of funding windows. Currently, if you go to our website, if you want to approve this, please go to our website. On the landing page, there is an advertisement that was there for a whole year of the opening of funding window for special projects. And we do reallocate these funds before they go to special projects. We open a funding window 1, we open a funding window 2, we reallocate the funds that are remaining. Unfortunately, some of these funds can't be taken by our stakeholders, all of them, and those get redirected to projects that are quite important, impactful, innovative, and sustainable for the SETA. So we don't necessarily take, and unfortunately we had this discussion even yesterday at the board, we do not take funds that are available that the sector requires. We firstly satisfy the sector in terms of what they require, then we open a funding window. Generally, those funds are normally open in Q4 because that's when we get a lot of terminations and cancellations from our sector who say we can't use these funds at the moment. However, I'm going to let Mr. Snaye respond further on that.
Mr. Mgidi.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, CEO. I'm happy you've covered the questions. We've got it on record, ladies and gentlemen, that like it was indicated that in 2020, according to the speaker, it says 21 projects were not advertised. We've got it on record that in 2020-2021 financial year, up to now, every year, the projects, special projects or strategic projects advertisement were sent out and all the processes were followed accordingly in terms of those who were allocated those projects. And like the CEO has said, the other issue was, of course, to say, why can't we rechannel the money coming from the cancellations to the DG, which is exactly what we are doing. That if there are any cancellations or any terminations in the projects or any contracts that generally so get to be cancelled, that money it's get redirected to the projects, and that happened normally towards the end of the financial year, like the CEO has indicated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sinaye. that sums up the question and answer sessions, ladies and gentlemen, but this doesn't stop you, as we have mentioned, from engaging all of us here, because we're exactly here for that, for any further engagements that you may want to have. Allow me to then call the one who's going to be doing the vote of thanks, and at the same time thanking you so much for being my good audience as the master of ceremonies. Please clap hands for me. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Ms. Funega Kumalo, the board member of Food and Beverage SETA, was Pambili, just to give us a vote of thanks. Thank you. And by the way, after this, please, there is food, and we'll be starting at 1 o'clock, thereabout, for our award ceremonies, which is going to be a fantastic time, which is not going to be as boring as this one with your boring MC. Thank you.
I will start by thanking you, MC, for a great job well done. I know sometimes we forget to thank the MC, but the MC has done a stellar job, ladies and gentlemen. I think you agree. I think another good round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the end of the 24th Annual General Meeting. I have the honor to provide the closing remarks and give thanks to the Deputy Minister, unfortunately he had to leave, for the keynote address that he has given to us. Che, I think Siniki Umkombandlela. It's very clear what he has assigned to the board, to the food and bev, to the industry in terms of key aspects that we need to be focusing on. And I want to assure the Deputy Minister and everyone present in the room and also virtually that in our board meeting that we had yesterday until very late in the evening, discussing quite a number of aspects that affect the industry. We spent a lot of time on what is called as the fake foods or the food poisoning and all of that, what needs to be done by the industry, what needs to be done by the SETA in ensuring that we try to curb what is currently happening. The chair did also mention this in his opening remarks. So the SETA is paying a lot of attention in terms of what is happening in that space, and we will be engaging the sector on what needs to happen in that. The Deputy Minister also spoke about the TVET colleges, again, another topic that we spent time on as the board yesterday. There are great concerns in terms of what is happening in the TVET colleges, in the TVET space, in terms of the lecturers and also the graduates that come from these colleges, for them not being absorbed in the sector, not being employed. And again, it's a discussion that we have to engage the sector on in terms of what needs to happen there, ladies and gentlemen, because we are trying to assist, I think, all of us in what the chair mentioned in terms of unemployment, 61%, that's a huge number. 61% of youth not employed. We should all be very, very concerned about that. And if there are issues, in the TVET space, graduates are coming out, however, they're not being absorbed. We all need to be concerned. We all need to sit in one room and come up with solutions in terms of what need to change. And as I've said, I think my colleagues have done a sterling job. You have seen the presentations that reflect on our annual financial statements. annual performance reports for 2023-24 financial year. And, as a public entity, we understand the importance of maintaining adequate accounting records. We have a responsibility to uphold integrity of our annual financials. We have always sought to ensure that our annual financial statements fairly present the true state of affairs of FoodBev SETA. Our performance results were driven by initiatives as it was reflected on the presentations, targets and outcomes that were achieved through various outputs as set out in our annual performance plan. This is the area where the commitment of employees and the execution of work sustained the organization throughout the 4 quarters in 2023 and 2024. We will not achieve our constitutional and legislative mandates without commitment and an efficient workforce. And I would like to thank our partners, the stakeholders, the industry, because some of these achievements would not have been achieved by the SETA without the involvement of our stakeholders. I would also like to thank all the board members for the ethical leadership they demonstrated during the audited year. We all agree that it was not an easy financial year, as was the case anyways with other years. With each and every year that passes, the chair gives an even higher goal for everyone to achieve. The importance of a resilient and fit-for-purpose board cannot be overemphasized. Leading a public entity in South Africa requires a diligence and exceptional knowledge of governance. Our board charter, which was developed in line with our constitution and governance best practices as recommended by Kingford Report, served as the basis of our modus operandi. We have been able to hold ourselves accountable, as was shown in the 23-24 financial year, under the leadership of our chairman, Mr. Alan Campbell. He has been a compass that guided us through difficult phases of our work, and we, for that, forever grateful, Mr. Chair. It will be very difficult for me to thank everyone in the board and not zoom in into my committee. I'm being biased here. My committee, which is the Governance and Strategy Committee, that is the GSC, that is the committee that I serve, and I'm very close to this part of our organizational work and know its impact enabling us to realize our strategic plan objectives. It is befitting that we should also express appreciation for the work that was undertaken by all committees, that is the Audit and Risk Committee, the Executive Committee, Human Resource, Remuneration and Ethics Committee, I got that right. Through the board committees, we were able to make better decisions and improve organizational efficiency across all segments. We are grateful for the expertise of all the board members who have led the board members who have led the different committees in the past financial year. Ladies and gentlemen, the executive management of the FoodBev SETA, led by our CEO, Ms. Nokuthula Silamulela, has played a tremendous role in ensuring that we effectively carried out our quality assurance mandate on sector qualifications and accreditations. They made sure that the organization achieved its targets in research, and skills planning and played a leading role in maintaining our skills development funding function. We recognize and acknowledge their teamwork, diligence in managing the implementation of the 4 programs as outlined in our APP, while managing our employees and helping to enhance individual performance. And most importantly, in the organization is the employees, again, of the FoodBev SETA. We would like to thank all the employees of the SETA for their valuable contributions. I think we should give them an extra round of applause. It has been mentioned a number of times, the research reports that the SETA does, and there's quite a number of topics that this research tries to get into. But I'll just would like, because we've spoken about the TVET and the 4IR, the Deputy Minister did mention the 4IR. Some of the topics that we have looked at in the SETA is the TVET study, impact and readiness, 4IR and FoodBev sector, smart value chains, green economy, which the Deputy Minister also did touch on, the atlas of emerging jobs, to name a few. There's a number of programs and that were presented. I will not go through that because I know I'm standing between you and lunch, and I'll make sure that I finish. I would also like to thank all other government entities that have partnered with us, and I was told that there were also other CEOs from other SETAs that are also present here with us today. We would like to thank the SETAs because as the SETAs we share knowledge and we work together. We thank all the other government entities and the SETAs that are here with us today. As I conclude, I want to share a little piece of information from a publication that was published in the Engineering News last week, which said, I quote, "South Africa's economy is increasingly threatened by climate change impacts, resulting in scarcity of important natural resources. To respond to these challenges, industries need to increase their efforts to remain competitive, save scarce natural resources, protect the environment, and be prepared for the future. By embracing green technologies and sustainable practices, industries can enhance their competitiveness in both local and international markets, reduce their environmental footprint, and create green jobs." I want to also mention that as we look as the sector in the work that we do, it was also mentioned earlier that we need to focus in the rural areas. And we need to focus on the township markets. We need to ensure that we integrate young people from Mamelodi and Guguletu, Lusikisiki and Kuruman into the value chain through workplace integration and effective skills. And I think there's a lot of mention that has gone through in terms of talking about those skills. My last word of appreciation goes to all the people involved in organizing this event. I don't want to forget you, and for putting everything together, putting everything in place, for ensuring that everything goes smoothly. We thank everyone, and I think, again, let's give them a round of applause. And with all of that said, I think we've come to the end. And I would like to say from my side, travel safely to your various destinations until we meet again in the line of work. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I've just been reliably told to please ask that let's have a leg stretch until past. And then at 1 o'clock, we come back here. We'll be having food going along with the proceedings in terms of our appreciation lunch and award. Thank you so much.